Alright, so today, in case you were not in class, we want to go ahead and go over and show you what we were working on, this idea of how we can use repeated addition and arrays to help us understand multiplication. So I just want to model real quick what's happening here. We've been working with stamps and thinking about like how do we count out and look at these groups of stamps. And yes, one could argue I could sit here and just count these by ones and I would have an answer just like that. This is true. But the work that we're trying to do today is think about how we can build an array. And if you remember, an array is a group that shows rows that go left to right and columns that go up and down. And the cool thing about that is that we want to make sure that all of our rows and columns have the same amount in them, not always like the same amount in both, but like each row maybe has 5 and then maybe there's 3 columns like that. So let me kind of show you what we're thinking there. If I took these stamps here, I want to start building an array not like that at all. I just want this one. Okay, well, let's try this. Let's take an array here, and I want to start building these rows and columns. And as you can see, I'm already starting to build out a row here, right? There's a row that goes this direction. And so I maybe want to move these other stamps to like make another row. So actually, let's clarify that a little bit better. Like here's one row, and here's like my second row. So I'm going to make sure I have the same amount. Notice I have 3 in this row, so let's go with 3 in this row. And then if I made a third row, right, like drag these down here, one thing I noticed when I built this array is that actually I don't have the same amount in every row or column, right? Here I have 3 in this row. I have 3 in this row, but I only have 2 in this row. And if I look at my columns, I have 3 in this column, and let me show that with a color. Right, here's the column up and down. And I have 3 in this column, but I only have 2 in this column. So this is not an array. This doesn't work. So I'm going to make a few adjustments here and see what I can do. Let's see, maybe we'll take this stamp, put it there. We'll take this stamp, put it there. And now I got all this like writing on here, and we're not going to need. Let's move this out of the way. And now if I look, I have myself an array. Now, there's options here, because if I look at the array, then this is what's going to help me build my repeated addition sentence. And I could look at it by rows or by columns. So I'm going to look at it by rows first, right? I have one row that has 1, 2, 3, 4 in it. So I have 4. And I'm going to add that to my second row. My first row, second row. I add that to my second row of 4. So that would be my repeated addition sentence. 4 plus 4 gets me 8. Right? As a sentence, repeated addition sentence, you have all the components. You have the numbers, and you have the answer. And if I looked at that as a multiplication sentence, again, I'm going to look at what number do I see. I see the number 4. And I'm going to multiply that by the number of times I see the number 4. Well, I see the number 4 once, twice. So this is 4 times 2, which also equals 8. Now, there is another way I could look at this array. I could look at it not as rows, but as columns. And I'm going to do that. Let's do that, I guess, in blue. So this time, I'm going to be looking for groups this direction, right? I'm going up and down. Actually, let me erase my previous work so it doesn't get confusing. So now I'm looking up and down. So here's one row, or one column, and I notice in that column I have 1, 2 stamps. So that's 2 plus my next column, which is another 2, plus my next column, which is another 2, plus my last column, which is another 2. And that's 2, 4, 6, 8. And if I wrote that as a multiplication sentence, what I'm seeing is the number 2, and I'm multiplying it 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. That equals 8. So this is one way we can look at it. Now, the fun part about all of this is that in your assignment, you're asked to do this twice. So here's one way. This is actually just one way. I'm looking at it 2 different ways. But now I want to think about how to take and arrange my array in a different fashion. So I'm gonna move all this out. I'm gonna delete all this. Okay, let's just get all this cleared away. And for now, I hope you got that. Remember, cool thing about video is you can rewind, you can pause, you can take notes. So, let's just get rid of it all. I'll rewrite it. Okay. So now let's think about another way I could arrange this array. This was arranged originally in, let's put on this side so we can see it, 2 by 4. Right, that's kind of what we mean. There's rows of 2s, there's 4 columns, there's 2 rows. So let's think, what else could I do? Well, let's start moving some things around. Let's take this stamp, we'll put them in there. Now, I tried this, that didn't quite work, so I could go here. This could work, but one of the things I'm noticing here when I put it this way is this just looks actually like I flopped it over. Like this is 4 and this is 2, and those are the same numbers I learned, and I already realized that 2 times 4 equals 8, or 4 times 2 equals 8. So this is actually the same to me. Like I've arranged this the same way. So let's see what else I could do. Could I use different numbers than rows of 4 or columns of 2? Let's see. Alright, let's start. Move this. Whoa. Oh, wait, I think I'm onto something. Ugh. I mean, I'm just throwing things all over the place, apparently. Okay, so how about this? Think about what I'm looking at here. I have 1 row, and in each row I have 8. And this actually works, because if I think about the 2 forms we need, so let's think about our repeated addition. Repeated addition. I have the number 1, and I see it 8 times. So that'd be 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? 1 plus 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 1 equals 8. And if I thought about that as a multiplication sentence, right? If I thought about that as multiplication, well, what's the number we see? We see the number 1 times, and how many times do we see it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 1 times 8 equals 8. So this is the kind of work you're doing. You're going to have a group of stamps. I'd like to see you be able to move these around in different arrays, and then write what is the multiplication sentence, what is the repeated addition sentence. And as always, keep asking questions until things make sense, right? One of our lovely norms of math. Thanks for all of your hard work, and keep it up.